Wild One. I apologize if I'm not my usual chipper self today. I lost my cat of 17 years yesterday. I came home from work and she had passed away. It was sad and I miss her, but you know, life goes on. I have another cat. She's about to turn 11. My older cat was 17, and I got her when she was a kitten. She was left along with her litter at the doorstep of an animal clinic where my sister used to work back in 1999. So anyway, I didn't want to talk about my grieving period right now. I just wanted to go through an unboxing video before I go through my next tutorial and playthrough. I have a game in mind to do next, but in the meantime I received some games through Amazon today and yesterday as well. And I'd like to go through and open one of them, even though it's kind of an old game. It's called Kingsburg, and it's published by Fantasy Flight. It was released in 2008, and I had never heard of it until I went to one of those board game meetups, and this was at one of the game and hobby stores. I usually don't go to those because the people that, this might be stereotyping, but most of the people that go to those seem to be super serious. And they really take their game seriously, and I just want to have fun. So, but I got a chance to play this with a couple guys there, and this is a worker placement game, similar to Lords of Waterdeep, and there's one called Agricola. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. Hopefully I didn't butcher the name. But this one's interesting in that the workers that you place are dice that you rolled, and so that's going to be kind of interesting. I really liked the game mechanics for this game. So I'm just going to go ahead and open the box. I'm not going to really talk too much about how to play or anything like that. I just want to do an opening and see what all's in here. I think I know most of what's in here. And there's also an expansion which I received, and I'll do a separate unboxing for that one. But let's go ahead and open this guy up. I don't like to use pocket knives to open these. I tend to try to find a place where I can rip the plastic off. There's sometimes when they wrap these, there's a little bit of perforation. In this case, there it is right there. I just ripped one, so makes it easier to open these up without hacking away with your pocket knife and potentially, damaging your box. And I don't want to damage my box. I really like my boxes. Alrighty, so that's the plastic. I'll just set that aside over here out of the way. And let's get this thing open. Here's your usual Fantasy Flight Games catalog. I have a number of these. Fantasy Flight is, I'm a little biased. Fantasy Flight is my favorite game company. Maybe partly because they have the license to Star Wars games, so they put out a lot of Star Wars games. There's LCGs, or living card games. They put out RPGs like Age of Rebellion and Edge of the Empire. They are big on the miniature games like X-Wing. X-Wing is huge, and it's still huge even though it's been out for 4 years and they've gone through like 8 waves or something like that. Imperial Assault, which is a lot of fun to play. I did a campaign of that with some friends of mine. Star Wars Armada, which is similar to X-Wing, except it's the big ships, the capital ships, mainly. So on and so on and so on. There's a lot of stuff in here. I think they continue to advertise Arkham Horror. That game is now 10 years old, or at least this printing is 10 years old now. The original was back in the 80s. Yeah, and then there's Elder Sign, which I'd also like to do the playthrough of. I'm surprised they don't have Arkham, or I'm surprised they don't have Eldritch Horror in here. Anyway, so here's a bit of an instruction manual here, a little setup maybe. Kind of interesting. Here we have our player mats for each player. I'm not going to open this up, they're all the same. But the player mats are for building things based on resources. So you collect resources by placing workers, and the workers are dice. And once you've collected resources, enough resources to build one of these things, you build them. And you can get victory points and other special abilities when you do that. Ooh, punch outs. So we have a big old punch out sheet full of different color tokens. Lots and lots of stuff there, and I believe this is probably the board. Yes, it is. Let's at least open the board up. I want to show the board. Again, this also has sort of the perforated wrapping on it. If you pull hard enough, there it comes. If you're gentle, you can make it work. So we'll unwrap this and take a peek at the board. Beautiful board. These are the individuals in Kingsburg that you are attempting to influence. If you can influence them, they'll provide you with resources, and you influence by rolling dice and then placing those dice in these different locations. You start down here with the Joker all the way up to the King and the Queen. In frame there. So yeah, there's the Joker right there in that corner, the King and the Queen, and then there's this track for combat value, how powerful you are at combat, because there's a stage where you have to fight something. And it takes place in seasons, so there's a series of seasons down here, starting in spring and ending in winter. Winter's when you do your combat, that's combat over here. And then you have spring, summer, autumn. And the victory point track that you usually expect to see wrapping a board like this, an agent or a worker placement board like this. And look at that, there's an insert that actually allows you to store components without having to buy separate boxes. I tend to have to buy Plano boxes, Plano brand boxes, the ones that are usually used for fish tackle and bait and things like that, and toolboxes. I buy those mainly for storing components for board games, but they actually provide some space in here for you to drop stuff. So same thing with expansions. They really provided a lot of space here. So you know, once all these tokens are punched out, we can stick them in here. We can stick these in here. So these are the resource cubes. There's 3 different resources. There's gold, there's stone, and there's wood, lumber. Tons of colored dice. The dice are colored for each player, so you have a red, blue, green, and yellow player, plus some extra white dice and some black dice here. These are types of bonus dice you can get. And then we have our little placement tokens for the victory track and some other things. And then we have a little special pawn there that if I ever get to a playthrough of this one, I'll talk about what that pawn is. And then we have cards. The cards are the enemies that you have to fight. So when we get to winter and you have to fight an enemy, this is where they come from. And they come in 5 acts, acts 1 through 5. So you basically go through those 4 seasons 5 times for a total of basically 20 rounds. Yeah, and I'm going to open this up and kind of take a look at the monsters here. Let's take a look at this deck. Let's see what we've got in here. So yeah, see, here's 1. A lot of 1s. Here's some 2s. 3s, 4s, and the inevitable 5. So they start from like really weak creatures, like these goblins here. And there's the fail condition and the win condition. So if you fail, you lose a bunch of resources. If you win, you gain a particular resource. And then, you know, they just get stronger as you go through each subsequent act. Here's some demons. Demons you might have to fight. There's dragons. Dragons are, I believe, the worst of the worst. A little flag there, a little red flag that represents victory points. So if you lose to these dragons, you lose 5 victory points, but if you win, you gain 3. Pretty great. That's it. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you enjoyed the unboxing. I'd like to set this up at some point to to play. There might be a solitaire variant. I'll have to look that up on Board Game Geek and see if there is one. If there is, I would love to do it. If not, then what I'll do is like a tutorial playthrough with 2 or 3 players that all represent me, basically competing against myself, and see how it goes, just to give you an idea of how this plays. And then I'll also do an unboxing of the expansion game, which I also received today. I will see you in the next playthrough. This is Wild One signing off.